it's Liz Yuille from Old Stables Crafts. Thank you for joining me again today. I am thrilled to be taking part in Kylie Bertucci's Highlights blog hop. Thank you to anyone who voted for me. That was amazing. So I'm thrilled to be here. And this is the little project that I have got to share with you today, or a version of this. And this is a little box that contains a mini album, and it goes on forever. It's double-sided, and it just keeps on keeping on. And it's got a little bit of ribbon. So my idea for this is that you can gift it to someone either with or without photos attached, but it measures 3 inches square, basically. So let me find my... Once upon a time I had a ruler, and then I started filming and it disappeared. So it is 3 and a quarter inches square and 1 inch deep. And then I've just used all of the paper from the Parisian Blossom suite, and then I've used the Blossom stamp die cut and then cut down so that it all fits on the top of the box. So the idea is you can either give it to someone for them to complete themselves, or to complete for them and then gift it to them. The pieces on the inside are 3 inches square, so you can do little, if you have an Instagram camera, you can cut those down and they should fit really nicely on there. So that's the one that I have already made. I'm changing it up and using the Tropical Suite for this. Stupidly, I haven't written down the measurements, so I will get my scoreboard and show you what the measurements are for the box and the lid. The paper, or the card that I'm using, is Old Olive, and it's just a piece of 12 by 12 cardstock that I've cut at 3-inch strips and scored at 3 inches. So you get all of these, and then I will show you how I put that together in a moment. So let's make the box first. So I will grab my scoreboard and talk you through, and myself through, how I have made this. So 2 pieces of card. This piece, let me grab a better ruler. You'd think I'd have written this down somewhere, wouldn't you? Why write it down when you can make it up? So this piece of card is 5 1/8 square inches, and this piece of card is 5 not quite 1/8. So this will be my lid, and this will be my base. Yes, so that's my base. So I'm going to be scoring all the way round at the same place, so that I know that for both for both top and bottom, everything's square. So all I'm going to do is, apparently move all my bits of paper, is score 1 inch all the way round. And the key to this is that if you have your card so that the base is slightly smaller than the lid, you don't have to worry about shims or anything. So again, 1 inch and 1 inch and 1 inch and 1 inch. Pop that onto there, and then this is going to make my box. So it's a standard box, nothing, excitingly different. The only difference is that we will be sticking the scrapbook, the mini album, into it. So I've done the Catherine wheel closure on my box, and for those of you new to my channel, I will explain that as we go. It's just how I cut the corners and stick them down, and this is a Catherine wheel box. So I'm going to make the base first. So it's these squares that we're going to cut into. I always put the seam into the square. So if I'm cutting here, I'm going to cut with the seam into the square. By seam I mean score line, and then just wedge very slightly out, and then turn and wedge. And this is why I say Catherine wheel, because rather than doing both ends of the same side, I'm doing a corner, so I think of it as a Catherine wheel. So I'm doing the same cut on every corner rather than just cutting into the sides. I know what I mean, even if you don't. It's just a way to make sure that you end up with not too much bulk in any one corner. So this is why I'm saying it's a Catherine wheel, because it's sort of spinning. I've got my binger on, which is kind of annoying, but there we go. Right, so that's the base. The lid I'm making exactly the same way, so I'm going to wedge. So yes, I've got my phone with its alert pinging, but it's in a place where it would have to, I'd have to have a real fiddle to turn it off. So let's just hope that nobody else pings anything at me. And as I say, I'm keeping the score line into the piece that I'm cutting into, rather than onto the edge. If I cut with the seam here, so if I cut so that the seam was onto the straight rectangle, it would look very ugly when it was finished. So I don't. Right, okay, some liquid adhesive. I'm going to put the adhesive on all the corners of both pieces first, so that it can be beginning to set, and then I will come back and glue it all together. The reason I'm doing that is just so that it can start to get tacky. I do like wet adhesive. I particularly like wet adhesive for boxes. Tear and tape is great. I just like the wiggle room of adhesive, of liquid adhesive, but what I wouldn't use is snail for this particular bit. So just choose a corner to start in, and you're lining your cut edge up against your folded edge, and then just hold it in place for a short while, and then do the next one. And hold it in place for a short while, and the next one, and you can, you know, smush it around a bit so that you can sort of slide it into position. It is, after all, the joy of a liquid adhesive. And then the last one, which is always the fiddly one because you have to get it round the corner, and there we go. And then what I'm going to do is come in with my bone folder and just make sure those are really well adhered, and it helps to spread the glue out, and then do the same with the lid. And I've just realised what I haven't prepared, but it's fine. Don't always have to prepare everything. I worked out it's an age since I did my last mini album. And it's one of my most popular videos. Why am I not doing more videos with mini albums? Answer, because I keep forgetting. They do take a little more preparation, but, you know, all's good. And then let's just check that we are good to go. And we are. Apart from, oops, we need thumb holes. So I've got my 1/2 inch circle punch, and I'm just going to, by eye, take out a little piece there and a little piece here, just so that it's easier to, I did do the right bit, didn't I? Phew, for one moment I thought I'd done that on the base. So this is my base, this is my lid. Okay, so we'll pop the base and the lid over there for the moment and make the concertina. Now I have scored everything on the same side, but you know, if you've got time and inclination, you may want to do your 3" and your 9" from one side and your 6" from the other. It will make it fold slightly better. It's not the end of the world, but it would make it very fractionally better. We're going to do that with each of these. So the ends go in and the middle gets squished. And then burnish all of your folds. So ends in, middle squished. Burnish, burnish and burnish. And ends in, middle squished. Burnish, burnish and burnish. Okay, now we're going to overlap to get our concertina like that. So I'm going to pop again liquid adhesive, and obviously in the privacy of your own home you can be a little more careful and a little more precise about your gluing, but I don't want to spend too much time doing it, so you have to literally watch paint dry, well, glue. It's not the most exciting bit of the video after all. So again, come in with the next piece. The only thing you have to be aware of is that you want your pieces to concertina. So do just be slightly mindful of that. But other than that, you're just gluing the pieces together to make one very long piece. Now again, obviously you can make it smaller if you want, as in not have so many pages. It is totally up to you, but I wanted to use the whole of a piece of 12 by 12 cardstock, because once I've cut into a piece of 12 by 12 cardstock, I kind of like the idea of using it up. Right, so I am just going to very quickly come through and make sure that these are well stuck. So just find where your glue is and just do that. And then I'm going to decide whether that's the top or that's the top. It doesn't matter at this stage. You just want to choose one as the top. And then what I do is grab a pencil and scribble. That is going to be glued to the inside of the box, so I don't want to stick any paper on it. I have already cut pieces of the designer series paper ready to go. These are just fractionally smaller than 3 inches, so they're 2 7/8 of an inch square, and I'm just going to stick them on. Now again, you can use liquid adhesive. I'm going to use snail, if I can find my, there we are, find my snail. And I have already sorted my, always helps if your snail actually wants to run. There we go. I have already done the order for sticking these in, so otherwise I would be keeping you forever. So all I need to do is remember which way the top is, so that if you've got any patterns that are running up and down, you want to make sure that your paper is running the same way everywhere. Now, something like this doesn't actually matter. Obviously the palm trees kind of do need to be growing up, and you need to make sure they're growing up every time they happen. So just keep on keeping on. Pineapples need to be the right way up, and as I say, you can decide that you're going to use liquid adhesive. You could use tear and tape, but for me this is an ideal purpose for snail, because it's quick, it's, you know, we're only going around corners, it's easy, apart from the fact, of course, I've now run out, which I thought I was going to do, so I actually had a refill available. Of course it would help if it was coming off the card easier. Come along, thank you. At least get that bit off. And then, see, normally this opens without any problem at all, but because I'm on camera, it's not. And we're already 15 minutes in. For crying out loud. Okay, so take out the little yellow piece of card and, whoops, pop my new refill into my snail. And it's as easy as that. Right, where was I? I was here. So pineapples are the same as the trees. They are growing up. Oops. Fortunately, I hadn't pressed it down. It is one of the joys of snail is that until you've pressed it down, you do have a little bit of movement if you do discover that you have gone a little skew with, like I did just then. Now, what I've tried to do is have what I would call a bold pattern and a background pattern next to each other, so that there's sort of they're evenly distributed. Otherwise, you could end up with all your bold patterns in one place and all your background patterns in another, and it's not a great way of spreading things through your album. Now, some of the papers, doesn't matter which way up they go. I mean, this one, theoretically, it's going that way up, so I will go with theory. Obviously, this one doesn't matter which way up it goes because it's a background paper. Now, theoretically, we're going that way up. Only because that way up, the pineapples are the right way up on the reverse, but, you know, it could have gone pretty much any direction. I guess we could have had it, I don't know. Anyway, you get what I mean. Some of the patterns, it's a little more obvious than others. Now, rather than watching me do all of these, I will just do what I call the top layer on camera, and then I'll finish it off camera with all the other pieces, because otherwise you're going to get really bored. While I am finishing this off, you know what's coming, don't you? Do remember to subscribe, because subscribers do actually make a huge difference to my YouTube channel. The more subscribers you get on a YouTube channel, the more chance that your YouTube channel is going to be seen by other people so they can subscribe too. So if you subscribe, then other people are more likely to see it. So it's kind of nice that way. Right. Okay, I am going to put one more piece of paper on, but not yet, and it will be that one, and I will show you why in a moment. So, this is our base. All I'm going to do is add some liquid adhesive in here, and then find my scribbled piece, which is there, and just drop that into the base of my box and press it down well, and then that will close nicely. And I'm just going to grab now the ribbon for this suite is the pleated burlap. It's a bit thick for this because I want it tucked underneath a piece of designer series paper. So I'm going to take some of the braided linen, and then I'm going to grab a piece of tear and tape, in fact 2 pieces of tear and tape, and then pop one piece just a little bit in from the edge of your card, because then it's going to be hidden under the designer series paper. Come in with your ribbon, and let's see if we can get it even. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I want it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I want it to be either side of that line. So we'll go whoop-steery with it. It doesn't need to be quite that long, so I'll trim that piece off. Grab my bone folder and just give that a good press, and then add another piece of tear and tape over the top so it's encompassed in tear and tape, and then take the top off that, and then just grab my snail and my piece of pattern paper, which fortunately is one of those ones that it really doesn't matter which way up it goes, but I think we'll put it that way up as the palm trees are growing up on the other side of the paper. We'll have the hibiscus growing up this side. So palm trees growing up, hibiscus growing up. And then that is nicely caught, my little tag is nicely caught on the tape. So we just need to do the lid, and this is the bit that I forgot to do any paper for, but that's fine. So I'm just going to see whether, perfect, palm trees, yoo-hoo. So I'm going to do something a wee bit odd, not that odd, but a wee bit odd. I'm going to ink this up with markers, and I will explain why as we go along. So I need a scrap of Whisper White. So let me just grab a piece that's going to be the right sort of size. That will do nicely. All my other scraps are too small, before you shudder at the thought that I've gone into an almost complete piece of paper. So what I'm going to do is actually going to use the Old Olive first. So I'm going to ink up my Old Olive, and I have done this in a previous video a long time ago, when we were in the sneak peek stage of the catalogue. But you want to ink up using the side of your Stampin' Write marker, and then this is soft suede. I'm going to add some bits of soft suede to the trunk. I'm going to use a reasonable amount of soft suede on the trunk, and then on the branches as well, and I'm deliberately coming out from the centre. I'm sort of following the pattern on the stamp, but not religiously. And then huff, stamp, hold it there for a good period of time, and release. And then you get, it's not hugely clear, but there is mottling, which is the look I was going for. And then I can grab my die and my die cutter and just die cut this piece out, and then we can put it all together. Hurrah, hurrah for that. So, okay, so there we go. So the only other thing I need is a piece of, I'm going to go, yeah, I'll go Old Olive. I'll be consistent. So I need a piece of Old Olive. Don't think that's going to be big enough. No. So we won't use that piece. We will use this piece. And my mini cutter. So we know that our box is 3 inches, 3¼ inches, 3¼ inches square. So I'm going to cut a piece of card. This is just 3⁻⁻⁻⁻. 3⁻⁻⁻⁻. Actually, no, I'll go 3 inches. So, love my mini chopper. As existing demonstrators, we were allowed to purchase this so that we could showcase it. I love it! I've never been a great fan of guillotines, but I love that one. So I think I'm going to, can I find the, yes I can. Is that going to be too much? Yeah, I think it probably is. So we will go for soft suede background. No, we'll go for the blue. We will go for the blue. Of course, I've now mixed up all my papers. Never mind. Where are we? 25 minutes. No! Okay. So, let's stick my paper onto my card. And let's have that at a jaunty angle. And then it will fit quite nicely. And I'm going to grab some dimensionals for that. And for the legs, I'm going to just grab my sticky scissors. I have a pair of deliberately sticky scissors. And I'm just going to go along the edge. I don't need the whole piece, but I just want a couple of bits just to keep the trunks from being squished. And the edge of the dimensional is perfect for that. So that's one piece. And then we are good to go. So I hope you have enjoyed this. It's a bit different, as I say. I did some mini albums a wee while ago and they have been very, very popular. So why I haven't done more, probably because they do take a while. And when I've only got half an hour on my video, otherwise my camera gets bored. As will you, of course. That'll do as a jaunty angle. Yeah, it's sometimes not a great, it is a bit like watching paint dry. So they aren't the easiest thing to do in the time scale allowed. And it's a self-imposed time scale. So let's just take the lid off and then make sure that I, squeeze this down properly so that I know the glue has adhered. And there we go. Let's clear the deck of all the rubbish. Bring back in the original one. So we've got probably masculine and feminine, I would think. Don't know why I threw that away. So we've got a really pretty soft colours there and the tropical one there. So I hope you have enjoyed that. If you did, a thumbs up is always great. If you leave me a comment in below the description bar, I would love that. And I will always answer comments, not necessarily immediately, but I will get back to them as soon as I can. If you've got a particular query, I normally try and answer those immediately. If you're in the UK, I would be thrilled if you would shop with me. There's a link to my online store below and also on my website, and the link to my website is below, and that will have all the dimensions and some close-up photographs. And of course, remember that the joining office, particularly during Celebration, is amazing. So if you're in the UK, France, Germany, Austria or the Netherlands, you can join my team and be a sparkling sunflower. Thank you very much indeed for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye!